All right, welcome everybody. So another Dynasty preview here, and this time it's Susie in the Pandian division. And the headline for her is, did she find the franchise quarterback?
It depends how long you wait, and that's my answer to that question. I mean, are we talking about starting out this season or even playing this season? I don't know, but next season the answer is yes, 100%. Last year she went 8-5. She's 12-14 overall, so that means she went 4-9. The year one, she's one and done last year as well. And I think, if I remember correctly, I had her projected to make the championship, and then her team just stopped playing.
Yeah, she had a bunch of guys that just didn't perform, or they just on teams, or guys like Levy and Bell, I believe. So, just guys that just didn't pan out. And the issue for Susie off the bat here has been the quarterback position. And in this flex league where we can dress two quarterbacks, it's vital you have at least one good one. And I mean, she went into the draft with just Carson Wentz, and you know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I a straight up bump. And glad the Browns didn't draft him back in the day when they didn't, right? Reflecting back. But she obviously had to make the change in the quarterback position, but that definitely is why she went one and done last year, and why her career record's been mediocre.
For sure. I agree with you. As you said, she has Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. Carson Wentz and Trey Lance. And she has Jonathan Taylor, Gibson, Moss, Murray. Looking at her wide receivers, she has Jones, Woods, Thielen, Conley, Bateman. Tight end, she has Tunyon, Knox, Graham, Rudolph. And her IDPs aren't terrible. They're, to me, I think I have them ranked 8th or 9th, not the middle of the road.
Yeah, so Trey Lance, obviously that was the first round pick, and we'll get into that in a bit. But if you look at the roster last year, the running back room was reset. She drafted Jonathan Taylor, Gibson, and Moss in the last year's draft. So obviously cleared up the running back room there, and then added Bateman and Collins here into the wide receiver room, along with all those veterans. The weakness here I see on her roster clearly to me is DL. Every single DL there, it does not scare me whatsoever. So she'll have to address that position eventually, but you're right. It might be a while for Lance, and that might be overall why she may struggle this year.
For sure. I agree with you there. You gave her an A+, which I was really shocked. I don't know if just because she was your wife, that's why you gave her an A+. But I gave her a B. I didn't think it was too bad of a pick. Trey Lance going at 9 is decent. That's where I kind of expected him to go. I did like the Bateman trade. That's kind of draft. That's why I gave her a B instead of like a B- or a C+. And then, looking at the rest of it, she took Collins in the 3rd. She took the Washington football team in the 4th. For a rebuilding team, and it's kind of my theme. If you're rebuilding, let's pick some players instead of looking at defensemen. In the 5th, she took Tucker as well. So she took a kicker and a defense before she could have taken anybody else that possibly made her team better, because we can't keep defenses and kickers. And I mean, she took James Washington in the 7th, which I actually liked as well.
Yeah, actually, I really appreciate that analysis. Never thought about her going kicker defense there in the middle. But I just think she had to get a quarterback, and she got it with Trey Lance. And that, to me, that's making the right move, the A+ pick, kind of like Ryan Pace with Justin Fields this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rashad Bateman, Nico Collins, these guys, other like Bateman's going to come back. I heard he's already ahead of his injury recovery. So these guys, I think, are going to produce, looking at the wide receiver rooms of Baltimore and Houston. And then you throw in that she did get Washington and Justin Tucker, which are top notch in their positions, I feel. If Lance does play, let's face it, Jimmy G is not a good quarterback. We know this, right? So it might be, why not put a raw talent like Trey Lance in there? The only way he's going to get better is learning by doing. I think he will be in there sooner rather than later. Maybe it's midseason, who knows? And I think Zebras might have a chance to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to the projections. You have her going 7-6. I have her going 8-5, just because what you just said. I think Lance does start sooner rather than later. If Lance doesn't start, I mean, Carson Wentz, who knows how long he's actually out for? She might have no quarterbacks until week 5, week 6. But I think Lance starts by week 3. That's just my feeling here, because I think he's 10 times better than Jimmy G over there. So I have her going 8-5. That's simply just because I think Lance is going to start sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree. And you brought up that good point about week 1, and Susie and I have actually talked about it. And I said, what are you going to do there? Like, if you don't have a quarterback? And she's not high on Carson Wentz either. She hates him as well. So I know she'll probably just drop Wentz, because the reality is Wentz really all that better than, say, Jimmy G, who's on the waiver wire, right? So she's going to need a week 1 starter. If Wentz is ready to go week 1, I'm sure she'll go for it. But if he's not and Lance ain't starting, she'll have to do that. And, she'll have to do it to get that 7-6 record, because you can't drop games. My brother Brian did that last year. He didn't dress a quarterback for a couple of games. He slightly missed the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would have just dropped Jimmy G. That's who he was holding on to just add a mediocre quarterback. He could have won those games. So
Yeah.
Susie won't make the same mistake as him.
Yeah, I mean, just talking about quarterback dropping, I think I picked up Will Greer in year 1, and he won me a couple games. That's how I snuck into the playoffs, and I made it to the championship game. I lost to no more, but I mean, just by picking up a quarterback that was literally starting 3 games, got me in the wild card round.
Yeah, you don't accept 0 points. It's the same as Templars keeping 2 quarterbacks. You don't accept the fact that one of those guys is getting you 0 points out of 13 out of the 14 weeks. Come on, man.
No, I agree. All right, well, that's our preview for Zebras, and we'll see you guys soon. As soon as I figure out how to close out this thing.